Do you believe that having a full-time job in the world's sixth largest economy is not enough to secure a roof over your head? By 2026, the UK is witnessing a cruel paradox. The number of people sleeping on the streets has surged by 171% since 2010. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the statistics are tens of thousands of hidden homeless turning their cars into the last fortress to maintain their dignity. With the average rent reaching £1,434 per month, and in London, people having to spend up to 41.6% of their income just to have a place to stay, the housing market is officially collapsing. When a nurse or teacher has to choose between paying rent and eating, the car is no longer a symbol of freedom, but has become a four-wheeled prison for the working class. Today, let's explore why society is pushing workers into a state of fixed in motion, and whether there is a way out for these four-wheeled homes. Have you ever wondered why in one of the wealthiest countries on the planet, car keys are gradually replacing house keys? We often think of cars as symbols of freedom and road trips. But in 2026, in the United Kingdom, it has become a four-wheeled prison, the last refuge for people abandoned by the system. In February 2026, data recorded 4,793 people sleeping on the streets in just one night, a record number, an alarming increase of 171% compared to 2010. But let's be clear, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Organizations like Shelter or Crisis understand very well, 4,793 are just the lucky ones who are seen. Behind that is a growing tumor, hidden homelessness. These are tens of thousands of people huddled in the driver's seat, hiding in supermarket parking lots or the dark corners of rest stops. The actual estimate could exceed 15,000 people. A number sufficient to fill several stadiums, yet completely invisible in glossy reports on GDP growth. This collapse is no longer the specialty of London alone. It is migrating north like a flock of desperate refugee birds. The Northeast region recorded a staggering 31% growth in just 1 year and a leap of 158% over the past 3 years. Cities that were once symbols of the Industrial Revolution have now become parking lots for lost lives. More heartbreaking, there are 175,990 children who have to grow up in makeshift housing or cramped back seats of cars. When statistics begin to bear the faces of hundreds of thousands of children, are we measuring an economy, or the moral bankruptcy of a system? The government continues to proudly preach about new housing policies, while in reality England loses thousands of social homes each year. The welfare system now resembles a mirror reflecting prosperity, but it is a mirror so cracked it cannot be mended. Do you find it ironic that as we enter the era of artificial intelligence and conquer the universe, we fail to ensure a stable home for? This collapse is no longer the specialty of London alone. It is migrating north like a flock of desperate refugee birds. The Northeast region recorded a staggering 31% growth in just 1 year and a leap of 158% over the past 3 years. Cities that were once symbols of the Industrial Revolution have now become parking lots for lost lives. More heartbreaking, there are 175,990 children who have to grow up in makeshift housing or cramped back seats of cars. When statistics begin to bear the faces of hundreds of thousands of children, are we measuring an economy, or the moral bankruptcy of a system? The government continues to proudly preach about new housing policies, while in reality England loses thousands of social homes each year. The welfare system now resembles a mirror reflecting prosperity, but it is a mirror so cracked it cannot be mended. Do you find it ironic that as we enter the era of artificial intelligence and conquer the universe, we fail to ensure a stable home for? This collapse is no longer the specialty of London alone. It is migrating north like a flock of desperate refugee birds. The Northeast region recorded a staggering 31% growth in just 1 year and a leap of 158% over the past 3 years. Cities that were once symbols of the Industrial Revolution have now become parking lots for lost lives. More heartbreaking, there are 175,990 children who have to grow up in makeshift housing or cramped back seats of cars. When statistics begin to bear the faces of hundreds of thousands of children, are we measuring an economy, or the moral bankruptcy of a system? The government continues to proudly preach about new housing policies, while in reality England loses thousands of social homes each year. The welfare system now resembles a mirror reflecting prosperity, but it is a mirror so cracked it cannot be mended. Do you find it ironic that as we enter the era of artificial intelligence and conquer the universe, we fail to ensure a stable home for? But do you know what really is a slap in the face of trust? It's the fact that they are not lazy at all. They still work tirelessly, 40 to 55 hours a week. They still pay taxes. They still contribute. But the monthly paycheck is never enough to exchange for a door with a real lock. Why is a full-time job no longer a shield protecting people from homelessness? In 2026, we are having to relearn the definition of failure. A new term has emerged, working homeless. If you still think homelessness is the result of laziness or vice, then perhaps you have been asleep for too long in the prosperity of the past decade. These people are full-time workers. They pay taxes. They wear uniforms. They clock in on time. But when work ends, instead of inserting a key into a fixed door, they press a button to unlock their car. A stable job, once a shield, now seems like just a scrap of paper in the face of the housing inflation storm. As of March 2026, the average rent in England has reached £1,434 per month. In London, the cost of accommodation reaches £2,280, consuming 41.6% of workers' income. The safe threshold of 30% is now a luxury of the past. Look at Watford as a typical example. A one-bedroom apartment rents for £1,341, but housing benefit is only £736. That gap represents hundreds of meals or the entire heating cost for winter. When wages crawl like a slow turtle trying to catch a racing real estate rabbit, people fall into an endless financial black hole. And so many are forced into a survival choice: eat to live, or pay rent to sleep. In that predicament, the car transforms from transportation into a mobile fortress. They choose cars because they offer privacy, safety, and proximity to work. But the reality is brutal, working 55 hours a week just to maintain the right to sleep in the driver's seat. The dream of homeownership has been replaced by a nightmare called parking lots. We are witnessing a system where effort is no longer rewarded with stability. A society where employment is no longer a pathway out of poverty. There is even a joke: in England today, you need a six-figure salary to live like a normal person in the 1990s. But even money is sometimes not enough. Because in 2026, money alone cannot open doors, you need a perfect profile. The rental market has become an exclusive club. Landlords demand guarantors earning 3 to 4 times the rent, often requiring property ownership. For many young people or immigrants, this is an impossible barrier. Add to that a 5-week deposit, upfront rent, and strict credit checks. Even a small mistake from years ago can disqualify you instantly. Ironically, policies meant to protect tenants have scared landlords away. Many now prefer to leave properties empty rather than risk long legal battles. The result? Supply collapses, and workers are locked out. And that is when the car becomes the last option. No guarantor. No credit check. No eviction notice. But living without a fixed address traps people in a vicious cycle. No address means no services, no insurance, no stability. You can go to work, but you have nowhere to return. This crisis spares no one, not even society's heroes. Nurses and teachers are now among the victims. In London, house prices are 16 times a nurse's starting salary. Over half of nurses are planning to leave the city because they simply cannot afford rent. Some now sleep in vans parked near hospitals. They save lives during the day, but no one saves their nights. Teachers face similar realities. Many report students living in cars. Some quietly provide food and clothes just to help them survive. Shockingly, 71% of poor children live in households where at least one adult works full-time. The idea that a job guarantees stability has collapsed. And for the elderly, the situation is even more tragic. Households over 65 at risk of homelessness have surged by 79% in 5 years. Many live below the poverty line after paying rent. Their cars become their final refuge, not for adventure, but for dignity. But the cost is devastating: cold, illness, isolation, and silent suffering. Some charities are even forced to consider end-of-life care inside vehicles. These people live invisibly, hiding in dark corners to avoid judgment. The dream of a peaceful retirement has turned into a nightly struggle for survival. To survive, many have become experts in stealth living. They install insulation to stay warm and hide light, use gym memberships for showers, and park in anonymous locations like supermarket lots. But even then, they face fines and legal risks. Sleeping in your car can cost £100, a week's worth of food. They are constantly forced to move, creating a condition of fixed mobility. Never stable, never safe. Sleep deprivation and anxiety slowly destroy them. Instead of helping, the system pushes them further into invisibility. This is no longer a personal issue. This is systemic collapse. The housing crisis didn't happen overnight. It is the result of years of imbalance. More social homes are being lost than built. Waiting lists stretch for decades. We need 90,000 new social homes annually, but only a fraction are delivered. Housing has become a luxury commodity instead of a basic right. If nothing changes, the car will remain a permanent symbol of survival in modern society. The question is simple: will we treat housing as a human right, or continue treating it as profit? Because when the wheels stop turning, will society still be able to stand?